Have you ever wondered what makes someone unforgettable? What if there were ways to make her think about you constantly, even when you're not around? Stick around, because today, we're diving into the world of dark and revealing 10 powerful tricks to make any woman miss you like never before. Trust me, you'll want to watch this video till the end, because it could completely change your love life. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, your ultimate destination for mastering relationships and life. Let's jump right in. 1. Limit your availability. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like the people you cared about stopped paying attention to how much you were there for them because you were so available? It's unfortunate, but being overly present at times might lead to someone taking you for granted. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you truly missed someone? Tell me what it was that caused you to miss them while they weren't there. Human psychology tells us that scarcity makes things more valuable. The same logic applies to the unique value of a rare curio or a pair of limited edition sneakers. Think about the impact you can have on someone's life and apply that idea there. Make it impossible for them to miss you by being always available, responding quickly to texts, being the one to call first, and making arrangements at all times. No time for them to think, what on earth is he doing? Take a marriage in which one member is usually messaging first as an example. They are always there, checking in at all times. Initially, it's rather pleasant, but eventually it becomes ordinary, expected. The elation wanes. Think about how different it is when someone is actually busy, replies when they can, and has their own life and interests, as opposed to that. When you make room for wonder and desire, they may flourish. If you want to appear approachable, how can you set limits on when you may be reached? To begin, arrange your time priorities. Aim high, pursue your passions, and spend time with loved ones. Send her a nice message when she least expects it instead of texting her constantly. You shouldn't feel obligated to respond immediately whenever she contacts you. Hold on a second. Just give her some time to think about you. Permit her to sense your absence. This has nothing to do with manipulation or playing games. Finding a middle ground is key. The quality of the time you spend with her may be diminished if she perceives a lack of interest in you and your activities. Being attentive is a luxury, not a necessity. For a man who has goals and objectives in life, let me give you a small challenge. The next time you contact her by phone or text, consider this. Am I just going through the motions, or am I savoring this very second? Reducing your availability does not mean ignoring people. Rather, it means being deliberate in your presence. How long has it been since you allowed her to miss you? 2. Leave on a high note. Did you ever see a film that had a promising beginning but ended up being too long? Your initial enthusiasm for it has faded by the time it ends. Just picture the film's climax as its most breathtaking and awe-inspiring moment. Incredibly memorable, wouldn't you agree? Talking to or interacting with a loved one is no different. One of the best ways to leave a lasting impression is to leave on a positive note. Allow me to tell you a tale. A man by the name of Ryan existed. Emma, his girlfriend, and he shared a lighthearted chemistry. Later that night, they were cracking each other up over the silliest of topics, including inside jokes, their beloved TV program, and amusing anecdotes from their youth. Absolutely great. However, Ryan did not end the call or bid farewell while the energy was high. The discussion began to wane in that defining moment. Never again. Picture this now. Ryan cut off the conversation just as it was reaching its height. Wow, I wish we could have talked longer. That feeling? Emma would have been left happy and contemplating it. There it is. You may make them desire more by departing on a positive note. They'll think about those times and associate you with good vibes, happiness, and enjoyment. The key is to make an impression that stays with them even after you're gone. Time is of the essence. The spirit of the discussion should be considered, but there's no need to interrupt. Are you both in fits of laughter? Are you addressing a significant topic? There you have it. Put things to a close. This is applicable in many contexts. Picture yourself seeing her face to face. It was a wonderful outing. Whether it was a stroll, a coffee date, or something else entirely, do not give in to the temptation to prolong it. When things are still interesting, say goodbye. It captures your finest self and leaves a lasting impression. I want to know, have you ever lingered for too long and the experience lost its enchantment? Consider the alternative scenario in which you departed while the energy was at its highest, to be consistently positive. Have you ever been having a rough day and then someone just cheered you up? Keep that individual in mind. Is your opinion of them now changing? Because optimism leaves an indelible mark, you probably have a soft spot for them. The truth is that people gravitate toward individuals who boost their mood. Being an upbeat, optimistic person makes you a beacon of hope for everyone around you. You shouldn't put on an act or brush off your problems because of this, though. It's about maintaining an optimistic outlook and searching for the positive side of things, even when things are bad. Give me a moment to tell you a tale. Alex was one of those people. Someone named Mia piqued his interest. Alex seemed to groan about something every time they spoke, whether it was traffic, his job, or his day in general.
Mia felt sorry for him at first, but she eventually began to ignore his calls.
Why? Because being pessimistic saps energy. Now picture Jason, another guy who had feelings for Mia. Jason was always full of insightful commentary, humorous stories, and words of encouragement whenever they spoke. He always managed to find the silver lining even on his worst days, because he always managed to lift Mia's spirits. She enjoyed their conversations very much. In your opinion, who did Mia miss the most? Being the kind of person who enriches her life is the lesson here. Let her identify you with positivity by being funny, complimenting her, or simply listening to her without passing judgment. However, keep in mind that this does not imply disregarding reality. It is okay to express distress if anything is wrong. Just don't think about it forever. Gratitude, answers, or hope should take center stage. If you're having a bad day, try saying something like, "Today was challenging, but I learned something important." It's a small change, but it makes a big difference. Consider the 3 most recent talks you had with her. I dare you. Did you leave her with a smile or a list of grievances? Is there anything you can do, even little, to ensure that you are always an upbeat influence in her life? Simply said, individuals miss more than simply other people. What a difference such folks make in their lives. How would you like her to feel whenever you're on her mind? 4. Build inside jokes. Consider the connection that is most important to you. A sibling, a best friend, or someone who truly understands you. Why is that connection unique? Isn't it the small things? There are those times that only the 2 of you can truly grasp. Inside jokes are the equivalent of a hidden language. They bring people together in ways that words can't describe. Envision this, the lady you care about, and you are sitting down and laughing over something that only the 2 of you can understand. It may be a quirky moniker you bestowed to her, or a memorable anecdote from some obscure coffee shop. Oh, how those times remain with everyone. In doing so, they provide a stable emotional foundation upon which she may rely, allowing her to remember you even in your absence. Give me a moment to tell you a tale. Ethan was a person who had strong feelings for Lily. While out on their first date, they happened upon a street musician whose ukulele was severely out of tune. They couldn't help but laugh so hard at it that they began texting each other ukulele star every time. As time went on, that small joke became their bond, something they could only share with each other. When Lily saw a ukulele, she couldn't help but think about Ethan, even when they weren't chatting. One of the best things about inside jokes is how intimate they are. Their connection is unique and difficult to find with other people. Basically, it's the same as giving her a little bit of you to take with her. After that, what steps do you take to make these kinds of situations happen? Stay focused. Pay attention to what she has to say, her peculiarities and her preferences. Did she burst out laughing over nothing in particular? She seemed to be beaming as she recounted a story. There are chances for you in that list. Make something special, something that you and your partner will truly appreciate, by combining them, yet avoid pushing it. Naturally, inside jokes occur. They don't come from strenuous effort, but rather from shared moments, and you should treasure them when they occur. Use them to brighten her day when she's having a bad one. Bring them up in conversation, or send her a text message about them. Would you be able to recall an instance when you and her had an infectious fit of laughter that seemed to envelop you in a state of pure bliss? You're establishing that type of bond. Those aren't simply jokes. They're memories that will come flooding back to her every time she longs for your presence. 5. Prioritize your life. The last time you prioritized your objectives above all else, even if it meant rejecting a loved one, when was the last time? Isn't it a delicate balancing act? The reality, though, is that you can't fill another person's cup if you don't have any to give. Let your mind wander to a scenario where you're in a relationship with an incredible person and yearn to hold their hand constantly. However, before long, you find yourself ignoring your interests, skipping exercises, and failing to meet job deadlines. Initially, it seems to be worthwhile. But eventually, you begin to feel like you're no longer identifiable. The irony is that people will notice when you no longer exhibit the qualities that made them fall for you. That's why it's so important to set priorities in your life, showing her that you're a man with purpose, ambition, and vision is more important than being selfish. Trust me when I say that nothing is more alluring than that. Consider Jake as an example. He wanted to create his own business and was madly in love with Emma at the same time. He struck a balance, not allowing his feelings for her to undermine his aspirations, even though he made time for Emma. He never wavered from his regimen of following his ambition, going to the gym and enjoying his hobbies. Initially, Emma felt irritated. She required more of his attention. However, she eventually came to respect his self-control. It just deepened her admiration for him. You can show her that you're not only living for her, but that you're living alongside her as two unique individuals on a journey. By making your life a priority, it's a strong dynamic. Consequently, what is the best way to deal with this? Take baby steps. Make your time limits crystal clear. Make your passion project or pastime an absolute must-have. Give her a glimpse of your drive and desire. Let your actions speak louder than words when it comes to your aspirations. Take a moment to assess what is most important to you at this very moment. Is your personal growth receiving enough of your attention, or are you letting other people have all the attention? Simply said, when you make your life a priority, you improve not just yourself but also become an example for her to follow. 6. Be thoughtful. Did you ever experience the profound impact of a seemingly insignificant act of kindness? On a bad day, maybe someone wrote you a message or remembered your favorite coffee order. Those times remain with us, don't they? The strength of thoughtfulness lies in its simplicity. It is not in huge gestures, but in the tiny things that demonstrate your care. Describe Max to me. He wasn't exactly rolling in dough, but he had a particular way of making Sarah feel special when they were dating. At one point, Sarah brought up a book she had adored when she was a child, but had misplaced. Although Max remained silent, he pleasantly surprised her 1 week later by giving her a copy of the book in question. It was considerate yet not costly. Max had heard, remembered, and taken action on something significant to Sarah, which stunned Sarah more than the book itself. Being considerate has nothing to do with ostentation or wealth. Being attentive is key. Was a favorite song of hers brought up? Give it to her along with a note explaining how it brought back fond memories of her. Has she mentioned feeling anxious about a meeting that is coming up? Send your best wishes and let her know how much you believe in her. A thoughtful person knows how to make another person feel seen, heard, and appreciated. It's more about making her feel valued than about making an impression. And believe me, when you manage to make someone feel that way, they will long for your presence while you're gone. However, you should not do it with the expectation of receiving anything in return. Caring is the foundation upon which thinking rests. What makes it truly memorable is when it is genuine. Okay, so I want to know, when was the last time you went out of your way to help someone you cared about? If that's not the case, then why not begin today? The true measure of a gesture is not its magnitude, but the emotion that goes into it. And such considerate moments will remain in her memory the longest. When she considers you. 7. Master subtle mystery. Do you ever find yourself captivated by the charisma of some individuals? It's like they exude an air of mystique that captivates you, and you're left wondering what it is. The strength of subtle mystery is in the fact that it makes you feel insatiably interested and wants to know more about the subject. Take a few seconds to consider this. Picture a relationship in which there is no room for exploration since everything is explained and solved for you. You think it would be easy? However, the initial thrill eventually wears off. No longer is there any interest, no longer is there any want to learn more. That's when an air of intrigue may turn any woman's heart toward you. Consider Chris and Mia as an example. Chris was a wonderful person overall, but he had a knack for being little unexpected. His unpredictable behavior was always a mystery to Mia. From time to time, he would mysteriously send her a text message, and other times he would be silent for an entire day. He knew that giving her some distance and unpredictability would make her think about him more. Not because he didn't care. She felt an innate attraction to Chris and was always on the edge of her seat, wondering what he would do next. Finding that sweet spot is the key to deciphering subtle mysteries. Avoid coming across as chilly or distant if you don't want to keep her guessing. Meanwhile, it's not a good idea to spill the beans about yourself too quickly. Consider the method in which a compelling tale develops layer by layer, Share bits of your identity with her, but let her figure out the rest. A word of advice: keep things interesting by acting in an unexpected way. Not every time, but sometimes surprise her with a note. Sometimes it's better to just let her wonder when you'll get in touch again. Make it clear to her that she isn't the center of your universe, but that she is an important part of it. She will long for your company, be curious about you, and miss you when you strike that delicate balance. Consider your personal love tale now. Think back on a time when you were captivated and wanted more from someone. It may have been the self-assured, reserved individual who held back from spilling the beans. Perhaps their presence piqued your interest and left you wanting more. She will miss you because of the air of intrigue around you, which is what sustains the bond between you. 8. Stay in their peripheral. Just for a second, try to picture your typical day. Is there somebody in particular who you can't help but think about, even if they appear to be in the background the whole time? In most cases, it's not the attention seekers who are always trying to grab your hand, but rather the ones who hover just above the surface, capturing your eye without ever being too intrusive. Being at the periphery of someone's attention has that kind of influence. I have a story to tell you about a man called Liam. Emily had her doubts about Liam from the start. He managed to remain under her radar in a subtle way, even if he didn't always make himself known. Emily would occasionally wonder where Liam disappeared when they were hanging out, since he would periodically disappear from the group. Even though he wouldn't be the one to constantly text her, she couldn't help but think about him. Subsequently, he would occasionally text her or appear at the precise time and location.
Liam remained in Emily's peripheral vision by not being overtly available.
The intermittent encounters weren't what drew her to him, though. It was the sense that he wasn't your run-of-the-mill, unimportant man. The strategy's efficacy lies in its gradual implementation. Your ability to leave her wondering increases when you refrain from micromanaging her every move. The fact that you're busy with your own life makes you more appealing to her, so she never takes you for granted. Instead of trying to grab her attention, you should let her come to you, and the delicate tug-of-war between the two will eventually lead to desire. I'd want to share my thoughts about this. Consider the persons in your life who, despite your lack of physical proximity, appear to occupy your thoughts at all times. It may be that rare encounter with a buddy who always seems to be right on the money when you do see them. A person who texts you every so often, not excessively, but enough to make you feel appreciated, is another option. That's the peripheral effect. It's there to pique your curiosity without becoming overpowering. Can you recall any instances in your romantic history where you were overly accessible? Perhaps you've created the impression that you're always available, or that you've taken on too much. It's important to show someone you care, but it's also possible to put too much pressure on them if you do it too quickly. What occurs is that you provide her space so she may miss you, and then the magic happens. You can stay noticed without making her feel squished, if you remain in her peripheral view. The most exciting aspect? In your absence, she will begin to long for those intimate times. A yearning will be born in your absence that can't be ignored. This premise is so basic, yet it yields incredible results. Your presence will be much more precious once you've mastered it, since it will always feel exactly perfect. Say, be authentic. The importance of being genuine is often undervalued, so let's speak about that. It may seem counterintuitive that being yourself would cause a woman to long for your company in this day and age when everyone is attempting to portray an idealized picture of themselves. Truthfulness, nevertheless, is one of the most endearing traits a person can have. If you've ever met someone, did they seem genuine? Someone who exuded an air of effortless confidence with whom they appeared to be completely at ease. Just consider how that made you feel, attracted to them, perhaps even envious of their self-assurance. Try to put yourself in someone else's shoes for a second. Think about what it might be like to be someone who doesn't feel the need to perform or make an impression. What matters most is that you are authentically yourself. Consider the tale of Alex and Sarah. Alex didn't put on an act when he met Sarah for the first time. Without ostentatious displays of wealth or power, he had no intention of winning her heart. He simply turned up, clumsily laughing and stumbling over his words here and there. His genuineness, nevertheless, was what truly distinguished him. Neither his perfection nor his imperfections were concealed by him. He was forthright and honest. This was immediately apparent to Sarah. When she was in someone else's company, she didn't sense any pressure to be flawless. There was a sense of calm instead, and little by little, Alex evolved into someone she looked up to, rather than merely another boy. Listen up. Sincerity is the key to earning people's trust. Being genuine expresses to another person that they can rely on you through thick and thin, the good times and the bad. In any relationship, that is a strong thing. How exactly does this work to make her long for your presence? You may let your genuine self shine through even when faced with challenges. Playing games is unnecessary. You establish a connection with her by proving that you are sufficient just the way you are. The most essential thing is that she will crave for your authentic self. When you shed your mask and show her who you really are, everything else becomes clear when she longs for the authentic you. Just for a second, consider your own romantic history. Is there somebody you've ever been with whose authenticity was a breath of fresh air? Being flawless or making an excessive effort weren't factors. The key was how open they were, how comfortable they were being themselves, and how eager they were to be vulnerable. Wouldn't you want to hang out with that type of person more often? Being genuine has that kind of impact. By accepting her just as she is, imperfections and all, you encourage her to do the same. And that, my friend, is the secret to making a bond that will endure a lifetime, rather than a shallow one. 10. Value quality time. Quality time is an eternal topic, therefore let's speak about it now. We've all heard that expression before, but when it comes to romantic relationships, do we really grasp its meaning? We tend to believe that the more time we spend with someone, the stronger our bond becomes. This isn't necessarily true, though. At times, simplicity is the key. When you were with someone, did you ever feel like you were falling apart even if you were spending a lot of time together? Perhaps you were both mindlessly engrossed in your phones, or perhaps you were just taking up space without giving each other your whole attention. We call that time without value. People often conflate just spending time with one another with having a meaningful relationship, but that is not the case. Consider the tale of Mia and James. James would normally spend hours cuddling with Mia, but he would frequently be preoccupied with his phone, his job, or just zone out. In contrast, Mia began to realize that her favorite moments were the ones in which James showed genuine interest in her, such as when they went on unexpected dates or had meaningful talks. It wasn't about clocking more and more minutes. It was about savoring every one of those precious moments of connection that she began to yearn for. Then what's the key? Spending quality time on purpose is key. Verify that you are truly being with her whenever you are in her company. Be fully present by putting down your phone and turning off all other distractions. This entails paying close attention, taking an interest in her life, and making the most of every moment. It's all about making experiences that would allow her to reflect and say, "That was truly unforgettable." Quality time doesn't need to be regular, which is one of its beauties. That doesn't imply you have to be inseparable all the time. This ensures that the times you do spend with each other are special. Long after you've gone your separate ways, she will remember how much you cared when you gave her your undivided attention. Just how frequently do we recall those peaceful times when we felt like we were genuinely living? Perhaps it was that impromptu road trip or the moonlit stroll you two enjoyed together. Those recollections endure because of the significance they carried. Consider your own life for a moment. Think back on a moment when you and another person weren't only physically there. Instead, you had an authentic emotional connection that made the time together feel more meaningful. When you can give her that unforgettable experience, she will miss you more than you can imagine. Make sure that in your connection, quality is more important than quantity. Your time together should be memorable. The kind of time she'll think about fondly even after you're gone. She will start to yearn for such moments once she begins to appreciate their significance. Your ability to make the most of each moment will be the reason she will miss you when she realizes how much you mean to her. Conclusion: rather than focusing on deception, these 10 tactics of dark psychology help you understand others and build real relationships. If you use them well, they will deepen your connection with her and make her miss you. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more insightful content like this, subscribe to the channel. Your support is truly appreciated, and we are dedicated to providing you with top-notch information that may revolutionize your life. Thank you for tuning in, and until we meet again,